let's keep going here. And what we're going to do now is we are going to layer some of these drums up. And this is a very standard thing that you would do. So I'm going to layer some real drums in with my beatbox drums. So let's go ahead and show the desktop here. And let's see. Let's go ahead and solo this. And I'm going to go ahead and open up Kontakt here. So here's this one here. There we go. Cool. Now, the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and adjust the cool. And let's go ahead and throw a little group insert effects on here. Let's put tape saturator. Is this even doing it? I don't even hear anything. Difference. Okay, it's definitely doing something. Oh yeah, there we go. Cool, so we got that there. And let's go ahead and make a new look at our bass drum group. All right, cool. So I put it on both. Good. And let's make a new group. Create empty group. Cool. And we'll call this one Real Drums. So hopefully you're being able to follow a little bit what I'm doing. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to layer on top of these my drums here, and I'm going to solo this group out here, and there we go. So now let's throw on here some other drums, and I'm going to go ahead and a little 808 drum. Wait, kick. I'll just use that one there. I'm gonna throw that one right here. Okay, so we have that. And now when I hit the key, it's gonna play that note. I'm gonna put that one there, and we're going to put another one on top of this note here as well. Actually, you know what we can do? We use this one. Yeah, I'm adding tones to the sample just to give it some meat. So in here, I'm going to make this one that whole. Right? Cool. Nice. Okay, so make it so it's just playing those two notes there, and then this one here, let's see. Yep, there's my 808. So if we play it with the other ones. Oh, I deleted my other one, didn't I? Somehow. Ah. Sorry, hold on. Let's get my kick drum back in there, my bass drum 1. Sorry, I would do this a different way. I'm just showing this way so you can see a way to do it, but I actually would do it. Can I lock this? I'm not an expert with using groups in Kontakt, because I would do this just with a different drum kit. I just might do it that way, but at the end of the day, but you can layer, oh, there we go, wait. There we go. Can I do this? I think I can. Nope, that doesn't do it. Okay, well, let's put this kick back on here. Yeah, there we go. Cool, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune this one down a little bit. Cool. Yeah. And give it a little bit of a length. Huh, like Roselle. I'll take that. Oh, and I got rid of it. Cool. And let's take a snare drum or a hand clap and layer it on. All right. And I can go ahead and pitch this one down as well. And if I want to adjust the volume level and stuff like that, I can do that right here. So that's how you can see you can actually layer sounds on top of other sounds inside of here. The only problem is once you get stuff going in here, it's a little bit hard to kind of like mess around, like to see how things are layered in here. It's not my favorite place to look. I don't like looking at windows that look like this, so I tend to avoid doing this kind of stuff. Let me actually get rid of this here, because it's too much like you click on one thing and then it's like, you know, you end up clicking on the wrong thing and dragging the wrong thing around. So I'm going to go ahead and actually delete this group. Boop. Yep, it's okay. Okay, so I got that. Oh, and it put the, see, it kept putting my bass drum back in the one group. So let me just grab that, put it back in here. There we go. And that sample. You're saying you can't extract those samples out to different tracks of stems. Yes, I can, but that wasn't the point of what I was trying to show you. I was trying to show you just how you can layer stuff and why you might not want to layer stuff like this, because you're looking at too many layers on top of layers. So you kind of came in the middle of things, I think, where I was actually trying to show you a different way to do it. Now, what I would actually do is I would just make a different track here, and I would just take my drum kit here, and I would just layer it on here. And what I would do is I would just throw a I would throw this drum rack in here, and I would go in here, and let's go for 808 sounds again. And I would go in here and grab a few, like a kick, this one here, and just put on these two notes. I'm going to go ahead and pitch it down though, and this is what I would do in real life. I would do it in multiple things. I don't like having all my stuff in one window. So now, why are we? Oh, you're on the wrong. Huh. Let me put these sounds on the right. Yep. Move it up to C3. C3, where are you? There you are. Boom. I got that there. There we go. Cool. I'll fade this. There we go. Just I want a little thump. And now I'm going to take this and drag it over to here to this one. Cool. And this one here, let's go over here and see what's going on with our snares. I can just go through all my different sounds that are in here. Let's grab the 70 snare vinyl and put that in here. And turn it down. It's way too loud right now. Cool. Nice. Cool. There we go. And I mean, realistically, what you'd want to do with that bass, that beatbox sample is actually record it properly and not with just this microphone here that's on here, this microphone right there, that little dude right there. It's not the best mic to be recording full samples and getting a nice big tone out of things. But I could probably EQ it and stuff like that to kind of boost it up. But I think I've reached the limit of how much I care about that beatbox sample. So, yeah, definitely a good idea. Go ahead and try it out. So let's just go through a couple of just a little review here of the stuff we talked about today. I just want to go through this vocabulary here. You got the sample start, you got the sample end. That's where you're cutting the sample here. That should be pretty self-explanatory. The root note is the note that plays back the original key of the sample. Remember, if you move the root note down, your sample and you play higher keys, you're going to play it faster. And if you play lower keys, you're going to play it slower. Then you've also got your key zones. Key zones limit the sample to where it is on the keyboard. So if I want the key zones to be down here, I can do that, down to this part of the keyboard here. And I could have other samples here. I could have one sample here, one sample here, one sample here. That's like a drum kit. And then you have your low and your high keys for that. I can also have velocity zones. So depending on how hard or soft I hit the key, it's going to play different samples. This is all part of multi-sampling. Multi-sampling allows you to have like drum kits and stuff, but it also allows us to have pianos and stuff. This is one thing I didn't show you yet. Let me just show you this real quick. If I want to have a realistic piano sample, I got to have what we call multi-sampling. You can't just sample one note of a piano and then have it play over the whole keyboard range. How many notes, how many keys are on a piano? Right? Does anybody know how many keys are on a piano? Anybody who's still here know how many keys? 12. There's a few more on a normal acoustic piano. 88, thank you. There's 88 keys on a normal acoustic piano, okay? If I had said keyboard, it would depend, but I said piano. And pianos don't depend. Pianos are always 88 keys. Keyboards can have 61 keys or 72 keys or 88 keys, or sorry, 69 keys, I guess it is, 61, or 25 if you're talking about these little controllers. But keyboards have 88 keys. Yep. So if we wanted to have all 88 notes and we wanted to have them all sound natural, we have to sample every single one of these things. And that's where this multi-sampling thing comes in. Let's go ahead and take a look at a multi-sampled piano that's in Complete real quick. Sorry, not Complete, Kontakt. There we go. So what I'm going to do is, you know, a couple things. Yeah, me too. Just a couple. Maybe three. A little bit more than a couple. All right, let's look at the Alicia's Keys piano. So here's the Alicia's Keys piano. And like I said, if you have Kontakt, you can actually, only a couple. If you have Kontakt, you can actually open up and you can see inside of it. If you have the full version of Kontakt and not just the player. So if I click on this wrench right here, this is going to allow me to open it up and look inside. And I can go in here to my mapping editor. And this is, things are going to get cray right now. Boom. So here's what this looks like. So we can see there's a whole bunch of samples in here for this. So each one of these has 1, 2, 3, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 1. I'm not going to count across like this, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 octaves worth of notes. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 5 octaves worth of notes, and there's 12 velocity samples in each one. And that's probably not all the samples that are actually in here. We have all these different groups. See all these different groups that are here? If I zoom in, there's a ton of different groups. They've got like the effects, the releases, the sustain pedals, all this stuff that's in here. So what are you asking? You're asking, when they record sounds to sample, do they record different velocities or do they just take one velocity and digitally manipulate? They record different velocities. They actually sit there and record the note being played at different velocities for these acoustic instruments, or people playing louder or softer or whatever. They actually record it, because if you just take it and manipulate it digitally, it's not going to sound natural. It's going to sound like somebody has manipulated it digitally. So the only way to get a real, full acoustic actual sound is just to sit there and sample everything about it. And that's what they do with Native Instruments especially, but other companies do it as well. It takes a long time. And there's a lot in here. So that's why these libraries are huge. So for example, this Alicia's Keys library is, let's see here, total sample size. If we look down at the bottom, it says 6.92 gigabytes. That's almost 7 gigabytes for one piano. That's incredible. That's a whole lot of samples going on. So in order for that to work right, they have to have, in order for it to sound natural, you have to have all those samples. Now, that actually brings us over to, and that's what multi-sampling does. Sorry, let me just finish that thought. That's what multi-sampling does. And then the groups allows me to put them all together and have different samples be in different groups and stuff like that. And this multi-sampling, this is what makes it sound natural. But in order for this to work correctly, right, we're using key zones, we're using the root note, all that stuff. We're using velocity zones, and we're using groups, all this stuff in here. They're probably not using loops for the Alicia's Keys piano sound, because usually pianos aren't going to use it. But what they are going to use is they're going to mess with the sampler engine, this thing here. And the sampler engine they're going to use is one called DFD. Let's see if I can highlight that. Okay, I can't really highlight it, but DFD. And DFD, what it stands for is direct from disk. And this is something that Native Instruments, they were kind of the first ones, I think, to use it in software. But I remember Akai and probably EMU systems were also using things like this. And they still do use things like this, or at least Akai does. But DFD, what it means is that it means that you can play long samples even if you don't have enough RAM. So I definitely have, in my computer, I've got 32 gigs of RAM. We already saw that before. So I could load this entire piano into the RAM on my computer. But let's say I only had 4 gigs of RAM for my computer. And I'm talking about slightly older computers now. But 4 gigs of RAM, there's no way you could load the whole thing onto your computer's RAM. So what you would need to do is you need to use this DFD system here, which stands for direct from disk. And what happens is every single sample in the instrument loads the first part of it into the RAM. So you can see here on my screen the red part here. The red part will load into the RAM. And when you play the key, it plays back from that red part right there. And then what happens is the rest of the sample will play back. So it plays at that red part first, and then immediately it starts playing the rest of it from your hard drive. Now, for this to work, your hard drive has to be fast enough, and it has to be a certain kind of like a good enough hard drive. I'm actually using a couple solid state drives, so my hard drives are plenty fast enough. My internal drive on the Mac Mini is a solid state drive, and then my external hard drive is also a solid state USB-C drive. So everything is working fine. But as we can see, if we look at this breakdown here, like a piano, let's say you've got 88 keys, and let's say you've got, even if you're only using 5, and we could see here, I think that one, what did I say? It was like 10 velocities or something like that. But let's just say it's 5 velocities, and let's say each piano note is like 30 seconds. And that's quite a bit, but maybe not that much. But you can see how this easily becomes, you got 13,200 seconds. That's 220 minutes. That's 3 hours and 40 minutes worth of piano samples. So that's approximately 3,300 megabytes at like a normal setup, and this is 3.5 gigs. But that's actually less than what this piano is. This piano, so first of all, this piano is at probably 24 bits, so the size is going to be higher. But that's like, 6.7 gigabytes for that piano. That's pretty big, right? So that's what's going on here. And this technology allows us to have that, which I think is pretty darn cool. And you only see that if you open it up and look at it like that, though. Okay. So that's what's going on underneath the hood there. Let's just make sure we got everything else. I just want to cover these ones here. Tuning. The tuning adjusts the pitch and speed of the sample in semitones. I demonstrated that for y'all. And then you've got the loop. Repeats the entire sample or a portion of it, and loop start and loop end is the beginning of the loop and the end of the loop. So that's everything in here today. We talked about, well, it's everything for right now. We're not going to stop yet, though. We're going to keep going. I've got another half hour that I want to get through. But, and the sampler engine in Kontakt, we've got a couple different options here. Let me go in my breakbeat kit, or my beatbox kit, and wait, hold on, not that one, this one. Okay, so in here, if I go look at this, here it says DFD. Now, for small samples like this, you don't really need DFD. I could put it back in sampler mode, which is what I would actually recommend. And sampler, what it does is it plays stuff just like a normal sampler would. It just loads everything into RAM and just plays it back, and it's like higher goes faster and lower goes slower, stuff like that. But if I wanted things to have a different sound to them, and actually let me do this with this one here. Let's do it with this one here, my Tony. Oh wait, not that one. This one here. Okay, this one here.
All night.
I'm going to go in here, I'm going to edit the sample a little bit. We're going to go back to Up All Night to the beginning. Oh, oh no. Ableton Live just crashed. Huh. Poor Ableton Live. Didn't like that. Live quit. I'm going to ignore it. Let's see if we can save this. I did save it, but I'm not sure. Files cannot be found. Overhead, the bass drum 1 and bass drum 2. Skip the missing files for now. Skip them. I think we've lost our samples. Oh well. too bad. Let's see what we got in here. I have these. I mean, we're not lost them completely here. Let's go back in here and grab them from over here. My bass drum 1. Doop-a-doop. And bass drum 2. All right. Whatever. That works. Save. And this Tony vocal here, is it in here? It's not in here, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And let's make a new one. I'm going to grab it. Where did I have it from? This is La La. I'll just record another one. Actually, let's wait. Before I suggest this, we tried looking for stuff on my yeah, here, let's do this. Let's grab, I've got some classical samples in here. I think I've got some classical music on this drive. Let's use something classical. Let's see, sample libraries, sample phonics, classical, hands up, hot space, one shots. Nope. Thought I had it was on my other computer, I guess. Definitely have it on my MPC. No, I guess I don't have anything. Okay, so what I'll just do here, I'll just grab that same sample again. And let's go into here to teaching and the KMFD what? And here's my Tony sample. Boop. There we go. And put this, let's grab Kontakt. Okay, so we got Kontakt back up here and running. And what's that, John? Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. Cool, Art of Noise, Beatbox, 1984, yep. For later Beatbox. And then this Art of Noise track, the Art of Noise, they use the Fairlight, right? The CMI. Remember Art of Noise. I used to like Art of Noise a lot when I was in high school. Yeah. So I'm going to drag this sample. I'm going to chop this sample first. Let's see, what do I want to chop it?
Up all night. What?
I don't want the what. I want to use a different one.
Because I'm scared.
Okay. Let's use this. Because I'm scared. Because I'm scared. I'm scared. It's a scary word out there. There we go.
Because I'm scared.
Yeah. Very scary. All right. I do not want to listen to your mini mesh. Sorry. All right, here we go. So, and put this over here, boop. And now, oh, it's made with the, okay, it was made with the EMU emulator. Okay, that's what they used. I always wondered what they used. Sweet, cool. All right, so we got this here.
Because I'm scared.
All right, here we go. We got this, and let's get this back in here.
Cause I'm scared.
Now, if I go in here and I change this here, I have different modes that I can use for my synth engine, my sampler engine. So we got that one there. And that's just the normal playback engine. It's just very, very normal. I'm going to go in here to my wave editor. I'm going to edit this. I don't want the whole thing. There we go. And also, can somebody tell me, is this person Bobby Tokes somebody in our class? I don't think it is, right? They came in yesterday and they said the same thing. Hey, want to listen to my mini mash? I don't think anybody wants to listen. Or do you? Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe I'm robbing you of some kind of great artistic vision by not clicking on that. Y'all can feel free to click on it. But I think I'm going to ban that dude. You're going to check it out, mini mash? You're a brave man, John. All right, so in here, if we go in here and I click on the sampler thing, basically what you're going to see here is we got Tone Machine, Time Machine, Time Machine 2, Time Machine Pro, Beat Machine, and then S1200 and MP60. What these all do is that these ones here are warp modes, different warp modes. And then the S12 and the MP60 emulate the bit rate and the sample, the depth of the S1200, SP1200, and MPC60. Now, it's not going to make your beats sound old and crunchy. The only way that you're going to get beats that sound old and crunchy, like if you wanted to emulate some NWA stuff like Dr. Dre or something from like the 80s, or if you wanted to emulate like Paul's Boutique or something, you would have to actually go out and buy records, and those records, you'd have to play them like hundreds and hundreds of times, because like Dr. Dre, when he was making those first NWA albums, when he was sampling stuff and doing all the sampling, he wasn't sampling from CDs. CDs were barely a thing at that time. He wasn't sampling from MP3s. They hadn't been invented for like 10 years. He was sampling from records, and he was sampling from records that he had played with, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times. So these things have been played probably thousands of times. They've been played, and that's what he was sampling. And records, when they get played, it degrades the high frequencies over time. So those records that he was using to sample from, they were like crunchy. They had this crunchy vibe to them because of being played so much. So if you want that kind of classic sound, you're gonna have to do more to it than just change this. So here, if I go ahead and change it to this. Whoop, hold on, let's solo this out.
'Cause I'm scared. 'Cause I'm scared.
Right, so that's what it sounds like there. If I put this one on.
'Cause I'm scared.
Right, let's go back.
'Cause I'm scared.
You can hear a difference, but.
'Cause I'm scared.
Right, there's that.
'Cause I'm scared.
What's happening? Did I crash again? What happened? Oh, I'm playing the wrong one, sorry. Let's do this, sorry.
'Cause I'm.
There we go, sorry, I was playing the wrong one.
'Cause I'm.
I was like, I don't hear a difference, ha ha ha.
'Cause I'm.
But I'm not sure I would hear a difference anyway.
'Cause I'm. 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 'Cause I'm.
Yeah, I don't hear a difference really. Anyway, so the chances are you're not really going to hear that much of a difference. The difference is going to be very, very slight. Now, if I want to take it and do some stuff with it, pitch and time-wise, what I would do is I'd go over here to Time Machine Pro,
'Cause I'm. 'Cause I'm. 'Cause I'm.
and now I can slow it down.
'Cause I'm. 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 'Cause I'm.
And it sounds pretty cool when you're slowing it down that much, actually. All right, so that's what that does. And then the tuning,
Cause
here, wait, let's put that back to 0.
cause
And you can hear it's not changing the speed of it, it's just changing the pitch. And that's pretty cool. And these all do that, but Time Machine Pro is the one that sounds the best. Absolutely. Well, any of these people, John, yeah, absolutely. Anybody who was doing music back then, it was all, they were sampling from records that had been played a ton, right? I mean, just tons and tons and tons of times they've been played, because these guys were all like people who listened to music, like, you know, and even if you go into like, who is it? Like DJ Shadow and these guys who maybe weren't playing as much. They weren't like DJs, all the DJ Shadow is, but they were, you know, a lot of these guys dig through records in record shops, and they're getting used records and used vinyl from places. And that's what they're doing. They're crate digging, and they're finding samples and stuff like that from records that are used. So a lot of, yeah, DJ Shadow is awesome. A lot of these guys, you know, when sampling, they're not sampling from MP3s. They're not sampling from modern things, or they weren't back then. They weren't up in the 90s, because MP3s weren't even developed. MP3s weren't even developed until, you know, what was that, 98 or something like that. 97, 98 was when the MP3 was actually became a thing. So that's what's up with that. Cool. So let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and make this into something kind of fun. Yeah, here I'm gonna assign these to two of the knobs on my controller here. So let's go ahead and do that. What I'm gonna do to do that is get rid of this one here, and we're gonna call this one Kazam. And I'm gonna move this over here. I'm not gonna delete it just in case we have another crash. Let's play. All right, so I got that sound, and I'm gonna go ahead and assign these knobs to assign these parameters to knobs. And so the way I would do that is, I think the way I would do this, let's just make sure, see if I'm correct or not. First of all, I'm just gonna, what is this one? Nothing. I'm gonna put that over here just so we can see it on the same screen right now. And I'm gonna go down here, and this is like something we talked about the other day, but I'm just gonna review it real quick. Click on this arrow key, and this is if I wanna configure my parameters into Ableton Live. And this only works in Ableton Live. I click on the configure button, and I click on the parameter. Okay, it doesn't work like that. So let's go ahead and get our browser and click on automation. And what we wanna do, well, you just hold on to that question, Bado Beats. Hold on 1 second, and after I'm done with this, you'll have a chance to ask that question. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna click on the knob. So I open up my browser window here on the left, and I went to automation mode. We wanna go to host automation, and I click and drag the parameter like that. Let's just see that again. So it doesn't really matter which number you do, just make sure it's not used. And I drag it over here, and I drag that one over there. And now I click configure, and I can click on these, and it can assign it into my host. Okay, let me do that one more time so you can see this in action. Here, remove. Okay, So this is if you want to assign parameters in Kontakt. And the reason why you'd need to do this is because Kontakt has just too many things. And so the people at Native Instruments don't know what you want to assign to things, what parameters you want to assign. So a lot of times there's going to be just too many parameters. So you have to go in here and do the assigning yourself. So let's say I want to assign my tune and my speed to be controlled with knobs on my controller. So what I do is I open up the browser here, and in the browser, it's going to pop up in libraries. I'm going to go over here to automation mode and host automation, and I'm just going to drag and drop onto whatever parameter I want to control. So I've got those two assigned, and now I'm going to go down here to configure, click on this, and I'm going to click the parameters. I click that one and I click this one, and now it has assigned it down here in the bottom. And I can turn off my configure, and I can do it in Ableton Live the way I would normally do it, however I want. Hold on, actually not that. This. There we go. So now, let's go. Like that. So we could do that. Now we can record that in and mess around with that. So go ahead and do that, and let's record it in. And you could use this like cool little background thing. You know, people wouldn't know what it is. Cool. And you get a cool little thing like that going on. So lots of stuff you can do with sampling, and tomorrow what we're going to talk about is actually recording stuff from the real world and bringing it into your DAWs and sampling it, and how to work with it in Ableton Live and get it kind of like how I would go from sampling from the real world or sampling from a song. We're going to talk about that stuff. Now that we've got the basics of sampling down, we're going to get into all that. Now's the time for questions to be answered. So, Bado Beats, you said you have a question, but it may be too complicated and off topic. So ask your question and let's see. In the meantime, everybody else and watching this, check out the attendance over here and make sure that you're on this list. All right? Yeah, make sure you're on that list. Okay, so you say you have a kick and you want to play a key note under it as it punches. I watched Dave Pensado do it once where he played a constant tone at a particular key and decided to wear that tune is like active when the kick punches. I can't find that video anymore. Is this easier to do than how I phrased it? So what you're talking about is side chaining. Side chain compression and side chain like ducking and stuff like that. So in this case, what you would do is you'd have a constant sound playing, and then you just have it cut in when the kick drum comes in, so it gives some extra punch to that. And we can talk about that. We can't talk about it today, but that is definitely something to talk about. Let's see. Let's make a list of some cool things to talk about with y'all. Let's see. I'm going to go to text edit, and we're going to go a list of tips and tricks for students. Well, the Kickstart plugin for sidechain is actually, it's different. It's not what he's talking about. Kickstart is great. I like Kickstart, but to be honest, you're only, like, I would say, you're only right for house music. But it's also not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is actually having something play. Kickstart ducks it out. So you're kind of right, but only kind of. List of tips and tricks for students. And let's take a sidechain, because that would be sidechain compression. We want a sidechain. We want the opposite of a compression. We want a sidechain expander, really. Sidechaining a tone with a kick. Boop. So yeah, that's what you'd want to do, and I'll talk about how to do it either like later this week or maybe next week. Probably we'll get to it next week, but let's stick it in here in this list of tips and tricks for students. Well, you're trying to match the key to the kick to the key of a song apart from tuning the kick. Well, that's the same thing. You're talking about tuning the kick. So matching the kick to the key is tuning the kick, right? That's what you're doing. You're tuning it. And that's the way you do that would be to find the tuning of the kick drum, which is going to be tricky. Kicks are hard to tune, but you put the tuning plugin, put a tuning plugin on the kick, and then see what pitch it's at, and then put it into the key of your song, or just use your ears. Like pitch the kick up like 2 octaves. That's what I always do because I have a hard time hearing certain bass frequencies. So you pitch it up a couple octaves, and then find the right pitch with your song, and then pitch it down to the proper pitch for the kick. That's how I do it. Anybody else have any questions for today? How we doing? How's everybody doing out there? Y'all still staying sane? Not going too crazy? How do you compress kicks? I actually don't always compress my, the class is a huge help to staying sane, right? Yeah, thanks, Louis. I don't always compress my kicks. I find the right kick sample, and then I just, I find the right kick sample, and then I compress the kicks usually with everything else. But if I'm having a few different kick drums, if I'm like layering my kicks, I'll put a compression on them. But I use Transient Master for stuff. I use Glue Compressor a lot from Ableton. I like Glue Compressor a lot. Usually with kick drums, you want to like for drums, you usually want like a slow attack and a fast release. That's just a normal drum thing for compression. It really depends on what you're trying to get out of it, because it's not just there's no answer. What do I think about it on the bass line? OTT. What is OTT? Over the top. But I don't know what OTT is. Sorry. You really wish we was back to the hands-on situation. Well, have a talk with Mother Nature about that one, or the government. There's nothing I can do for you there, buddy. I'm with you. I wish. OTT is a plugin in Ableton. OTT is not a plugin in Ableton that I can see here. I think what you're referring to is multiband dynamics, and you're talking about the preset for multiband dynamics. Linking hearts. X for Records OTT is a free recreation of a popular aggressive multiband upwards downwards compressor. Try parallel if you must. Huh. Yeah, John. Parallel, yeah. Yeah, I like parallel compression. I don't, so, yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, whatever. So, yeah, X for Records OTT is a free recreation of a popular aggressive multiband upwards downwards. Yeah, I mean, John could certainly answer this question better, but also there's a difference between like, you know, just smashed EDM kick drums and like proper compression. Because like proper compression and what they do to like over the top EDM kicks and EDM instruments are kind of different. Although, I mean, it's just the language is changing, you know, the sound is changing and it's different. Man, John, we need to get you a microphone so you can talk in here. But yeah, let's see here, the OTT. Tokyo, do you have a link? X for OTT. There we go. Oh, slice. Thanks. Splice, not slice. There we go. Oh, I own it. Wait, what? I've never used it. That's hilarious. But it says owned. All right. I'll keep this open so I can install it later. That's funny. Dimension expander. Okay. Well, X for Records stuff is cool. I'll check it out. No, I've never used it. But nobody's ever really complained about my kick drums, so I guess it's okay. Let's see here. Daniel, I'm trying to stream my recording session. I was wondering what you're using to get your DAW through OBS. Daniel, I actually have a whole video about that, and I'm going to post up the link right here because I just made it last week because a lot of people are asking me that question. And are you really sure that you need compression? That's a great question, John. That's a very, very good question. Like I said, a lot of times people think they need compression, and really what they just need is the right sound. And you hear a lot of people talking about that you just need the right sound. I used to think I needed compression on like everything, and then I started using the right samples. And I was like, oh wow, and I started mixing properly. And yeah, dubstep producers are always smashing their growls with OTT. That's the thing is, a lot of the X for Records stuff is cool, but it's more geared towards EDM and dubstep and bass music and stuff like that. And to be honest, I'm just sick of that sound. I'm just sick of like the smashing in your face, like, oh, here's all the drums, and you're gonna take the drums and you're gonna hear them. Oh, here they are. Honestly, I'm just over it. It's about taste. I agree with you. I agree. And unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people just don't have it. But that's because I'm an old man. So let's see, modular sensory. Oh, there's the ones I put up today. Let's see here, the videos. Let's see here, where are we going to? Streaming to Twitch with Mac and OBS. Oh, that's loud. Sorry, not for y'all though. Boop. It is about taste. I do agree with you. Boop. There we go. That, Daniel, will answer your question. I'm trying to stream my recording sessions, and I was wondering what you're using to get your DAW through OBS. There you go. You are welcome. Are you using? Well, that's only going to help you if you're using a Mac. If you're using Windows, I don't know if that's going to help very much. But it should be similar in theory if you're using a Windows machine. You were using, oh, Logic. Okay, cool. This will help. I'm setting it up in Ableton Live, but Logic, just when you're talking about the output and the audio routing, and Logic, just Ableton Live on my screen, just pretend like that's Logic, and it works the same way. But that has everything for you in it, so it's a good one. I put that together last week. But yeah, I mean, personally, you know, I don't listen to a lot of EDM or bass music. I make house music. I make down tempo, chill out stuff. But it's important to have all these things. And thank you very much for pointing out OTT. There's so many plugins out there on the market, and I don't really go into deep house and future. Cool. Yeah, I don't really go into the forums very much and check out what people are using. I mostly just use what I use. And because I've been doing this since 1991. When I started learning how to do this stuff is in 1991. So at a certain point, you stop, learning, and you're always learning, but you're like, okay, I need to work. I need to actually go out and do this work. And when I'm not doing the work, I'm teaching so much that my brain, like right now, I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually starting to come out my ear over here because my brain I'm just fried. So after this, I'm going to just go and chill. I'm going to go check out my GoPro and see what I'm doing a time lapse on the window outside my house. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to put them together and put some music underneath it. Experiment. John says, experiment, people. I'm gonna emote for you, John. Experiment, people. You want compression? I told you how. Too far. All right, y'all. It's been real. Thank you very, very much. Is my microphone too loud? Turn the microphone down a little bit here. It's been real. It's awesome to see so many of you here. And I'm glad John is here as well. And I hope I'm doing you proud, John. If you want to give me a call later and we can talk, please do that, John. Or you have my number, I think. Or I'll text you. I think I've got your number. Or email me or whatever. Anyway, thank y'all very much. It's been a blast. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about more sampling. I'm excited. And for those of you who are not part of SAE and you're joining from the outside world, we're doing this every day, Eastern Standard Time. That's a New York time from 2 to 6-ish. All right. So thank you. Awesome. And I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. Bye.